The Grand Council chamber on Nexus Station hummed with tension. 500 representatives from across the galaxy sat in curved rows that rose like waves around the central speaking platform. The air felt thick with worry. Commander John Wright walked slowly to the center of the chamber. His steps echoed in the unusual quiet. Normally, council sessions buzzed with whispered conversations and the soft clicks of data pads. Today, everyone watched in silence as the human representative approached the speaking podium. Behind Commander Wright stood two other humans. Admiral Susan Martinez wore her formal Navy uniform with rows of medals that caught the light. She was small in height but stood straight and strong. Next to her, Gregory Phillips, Earth's head scientist, looked calm despite the tension. His gray beard and kind eyes usually made alien species feel at ease. Not today. Wright reached the podium and placed his hands on either side. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with several council members before speaking. "For 50 years we have tried to work with you," he began. His voice carried easily through the chamber. "For 50 years humans have followed your rules. We accepted lower technology limits than what we could achieve. We agreed to unfair trade deals. We even allowed you to label Earth as a developing world needing protection, despite our achievements." Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The Voldurian High Chancellor, Zex Torvalak, blinked his eye stalks rapidly, a sign of nervousness. In his species, we joined this council believing in cooperation between different worlds. We thought we would be treated as equals. Wright continued. We were wrong. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Wright waited for it to quiet before speaking again. "Last month, when the Kree attacked our colony on Tau City, we asked for council help. You denied our request. You said human colonies were expanding too rapidly and creating unnecessary tensions. 16,000 people died while this council debated." Wright reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal disc, Earth's official council membership emblem. He held it up so everyone could see. "The people of Earth have made their decision. As of today, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted. Dozens of representatives stood shouting questions and objections. The council president, a tall, blue-skinned Arcturian, banged his gavel repeatedly for order. Wright placed Earth's emblem on the podium with a small click that somehow cut through the noise. The room gradually quieted. Zex Torvalak rose from his seat. The Voldurian's 6 limbs trembled slightly as he addressed Wright. "This is unprecedented. You cannot simply leave the council. There are procedures, agreements, treaties." Admiral Martinez stepped forward. "All treaties will be honored for 90 days while we withdraw our people from council space. After that, all agreements are void." "This is absurd," called out Delegate Quinn from the Proxian Federation. "Humanity benefits greatly from council membership. Your trade routes, your defense agreements have cost us more than they've given." Martinez replied firmly. "Humans provide 20% of the council peacekeeping forces, despite having only 2% of the representation. Our scientists solve your problems while being denied access to advanced research. Our workers supply your luxury goods while our colonies struggle with basic needs." Gregory Phillips spoke next, his voice calmer but no less determined. "We will return to our solar system and establish a boundary at the Kuiper Belt. Any vessels crossing this boundary without permission will be considered hostile." The council president finally managed to restore order. "Commander Wright, surely we can discuss these concerns. The council can form a committee to address human grievances." Wright shook his head. "We've had enough committees and discussions. For 50 years we've talked while nothing changed." He straightened his shoulders. "Humanity is leaving. We will focus on our own development now." "And if we refuse to accept your withdrawal?" asked a Danebian representative from the back rows. Cold smile crossed Admiral Martinez's face. "You can't force us to stay. You can only force us to become your enemies. Is that what you want?" The threat hung in the air. Everyone in the chamber knew Earth's military capabilities. Humans were restricted by treaty from developing certain weapons, but they were still formidable fighters. No one wanted humanity as an enemy. "We will withdraw all human personnel from council space within 90 days. Wright stated. All human embassies, trade posts, and military outposts will be evacuated. After that, we will enforce our boundary. And then what? Asked the council president. Will humanity simply hide in its corner of the galaxy forever? Wright exchanged glances with Martinez and Phillips. We'll do what humans have always done. We'll build. We'll grow. We'll advance. His eyes scanned the chamber once more. And perhaps someday, when the council is ready for true partnership instead of control, we'll return. With that, the three humans turned and walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop them. This is a mistake, Zex Torvalak called after them. The galaxy needs unity, not isolation. Wright paused at the door, looking back at the council one last time. Maybe what the galaxy needs is to learn that humans won't be controlled or held back anymore. The doors closed behind them with a final thud. Over the next weeks, the exodus began. Human ships departed from every corner of council space. Embassy staff packed up and left. Military personnel withdrew from joint bases. Traders sold their outposts. Human tourists returned home. The council tried to delay the process with paperwork and regulations, but humans moved with surprising speed and coordination. They left nothing behind except empty buildings and unanswered questions. Council analysts predicted that humans would return within a year when they realized how much they needed galactic trade and resources. Some even suggested a blockade of the Sol system to help the humans understand their mistake. But older, wiser council members remembered Earth history. They remembered how humans responded to challenges and threats. They remembered how quickly humans adapted and innovated when pushed. These wiser members began to worry. 1 month after the withdrawal announcement, the council held an emergency session about the human situation. Reports showed strange energy, readings from the direction of Sol. Long-range observers noted increased activity around Jupiter and Saturn. Some kind of construction had begun, but at a scale that seemed impossible in such a short time. High Chancellor Zex Torvalak studied these reports with growing concern. He had never believed humans would actually leave. Now he wondered what they might become without council restrictions holding them back. For the first time in his long political career, he felt afraid for the future, and he was not alone. As humans disappeared from council space like morning fog, under a rising sun a new feeling spread through the galaxy's governing bodies. Fear. Because deep down, they all knew one truth they had tried to ignore for 50 years. They needed humanity far more than humanity needed them. 2 years passed since humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council. The small apartment on Centauri Prime belonged to Lisa Knight, the only human who chose to remain in council space. She was no longer an official representative but served as an unofficial connection between humans and those aliens who still wanted contact. Lisa sat by her window, watching the busy streets below. Aliens of many species hurried about their business. She noticed fewer luxury goods in shop windows these days. Many of those goods had come from human artisans and factories. A soft chime announced a visitor. Lisa checked the security screen and smiled when she saw Kavex, a reptilian saurian diplomat. His species had always maintained good relations with humans. She opened the door. "Good evening, Kavex, please come in." The tall, scaled diplomat entered with a slight bow. "Knight friend, thank you for seeing me on such short notice." His voice had a slight hissing quality, but his translator made his words clear. "You're always welcome here. Would you like some tea?" Lisa offered. "Yes, thank you." Kavex settled his long frame carefully onto the reinforced chair Lisa kept for saurian visitors. Lisa prepared 2 cups of tea and brought them over. She noticed Kavex's hands trembled slightly as he accepted the cup. Something had upset him. "What brings you here tonight?" she asked. Kavex looked around as if checking for listeners, even though they both knew Lisa's apartment was secure from council surveillance. "Rumors spread through council chambers like wildfire," he said quietly. "The kind of rumors that keep officials awake at night." Lisa sipped her tea calmly. "What kind of rumors?" "The Proxen delegation claims their observation. Platforms detected unusual energy signatures from the Sol system." Kavex leaned forward. They speak of constructed objects that weren't there 6 months ago. Massive structures. Humans have always built things, Lisa replied with a small smile. Not like this. Kvex set down his cup. The energy requirements would exceed the output of 10 Council worlds combined. The Council fears humans have been advancing. Lisa walked to her window. From here, she could see the Council tower lit up against the night sky. More lights than usual burned in its many windows. Emergency sessions had become increasingly common in recent months. Tell me, Kvex, she said quietly. Do you remember why the technology treaties were created in the first place? The Saurian blinked his inner eyelid several times, a sign of thoughtfulness. The official reason was to maintain balance and prevent any single species from dominating others. And the real reason? Kvex hesitated before answering. Some believed humans innovate too quickly. The Council worried about what would happen if you were allowed to develop without limits. Exactly. Lisa turned from the window. Now they get to find out. Kvex's tail twitched nervously. There's more. 3 major trading companies have collapsed in the past month. The economic models predicted some disruption when humans left, but nothing like this. What did they expect? Lisa asked. Humans made up only a small percentage of the galactic population, but we drove almost 30% of innovation and trade. The Council is considering sending an official delegation to Sol, Kvex revealed, to negotiate humanity's return. Lisa laughed softly. After only 2 years? I'm surprised it took them this long. Will your people agree to return? That's not for me to say. Lisa sat down across from her visitor. But I doubt they'll return on the same terms as before. Kvex finished his tea in silence. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, more serious. There is something else troubling the Council. Something they won't admit publicly. What's that? The Krelthorians are testing boundaries again. Without human peacekeeping forces, several border regions have become unstable. Kvex's eyes showed genuine concern. Many suspect they plan to expand their territory soon. Lisa nodded slowly. For decades, humans had provided the backbone of peacekeeping missions across the galaxy. Their withdrawal had left dangerous gaps. The Council needs human military support, Kvex continued, but they're afraid to ask directly, because it would mean admitting they were wrong. Lisa understood the politics all too well. After Kvex left, Lisa sat alone in her darkened apartment. She activated her secure communication device and recorded a brief message to be transmitted through hidden channels to Earth. The Council is beginning to understand what they've lost, she reported. Economic disruption is worse than predicted. Military tensions are rising. They'll be sending a delegation soon to request humanity's return. Recommend we prepare our terms. The next morning, Lisa walked through the grand market of Centauri Prime. The once bustling commercial center felt subdued. Many stalls stood empty. Those that remained open offered fewer goods at higher prices. Near the market center, a small crowd gathered. Lisa moved closer to see what was happening. A mixed group of aliens held signs with messages in human languages. We miss Earth, and bring back our human friends. It wasn't the first such demonstration Lisa had seen in recent weeks. A Voldurian security officer approached the group. Disperse immediately. Unauthorized gatherings are prohibited. One brave Arcturian stepped forward. We're just expressing our opinion. The Council needs to fix relations with humans. The Council is handling the situation, the officer insisted. Now move along. As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Lisa caught the eye of the Arcturian protester. He recognized her as human and gave a small nod of respect before walking away. Lisa continued her walk, passing a technology shop with empty shelves where human-designed devices once sold. Further down, a food stall advertised authentic human cuisine. Though Lisa could tell from the smell they weren't getting the recipes quite right, she entered a small cafe and took a seat by the window. The Danubian server recognized her. Night human, good to see you. Few humans visit anymore. I'm the only one left in this sector, Lisa reminded him. The server's expression turned sad. Too bad. Good customers, humans, good stories, good laughs. He brightened slightly. But they come back soon, yes? Council will fix? Lisa ordered a drink without answering his question. She wasn't sure what to tell him. The council might want humans back, but they still didn't understand why humans had left. As she sipped her drink, Lisa watched a council news broadcast on the cafe's screen. A Proxian reporter stood in front of the council tower. Sources confirm unusual energy readings from the direction of Sol system, the reporter announced. Council scientists are analyzing the data. Meanwhile, economic advisors have revised predictions. For the fourth time, acknowledging the galactic recession may be deeper than initially estimated. The broadcast switched to show High Chancellor Zex Torvalak making a statement. The council remains strong and unified. Temporary economic adjustments are to be expected during this transition period. We are taking appropriate measures to stabilize all sectors. Lisa could see the worry in the Chancellor's eye stalks despite his confident words. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled for centuries, was facing something new. Uncertainty. And uncertainty bred fear. 5 years had passed since humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council. The Grand Council chamber was packed for an emergency session. Representatives from all member species attended, their faces showing worry and stress. Alan Foster, a human, who represented the mercantile guilds, stood at the central podium. Though human by birth, Foster had spent most of his life working with alien trading companies. When Earth left the Council, he chose to keep his position with the guilds, rather than return home. The economic situation has become critical, Foster said, displaying charts on the large screens around the chamber. Productivity across 17 key sectors has declined by 30%. New technology patents have dropped by 68%. Without human innovation and their demand for goods and services, our economic model is failing. High Chancellor. Zex Torvalak waved his appendages dismissively. Surely this is just temporary. Markets will adjust given enough time. They haven't adjusted in 5 years, Foster replied firmly. Additionally, 3 border conflicts have erupted between member species that were previously mediated by human diplomatic teams. The chamber filled with worried murmurs. No one had expected the absence of humans to cause such widespread problems. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Patricia Dawson of the Council Defense Force reviewed reports on her datapad. Though human, Dawson had married a Centaurian and considered Council space her home. She had stayed behind when Earth withdrew. The situation with the Krell Thorians is getting worse, she whispered to her aide, Frank Russell. Their ships have been spotted in the Vega sector, well beyond their territorial boundaries. Russell nodded grimly. They never would have tried this when human ships patrolled that area. We need them back, Dawson admitted quietly. Humans were our peacekeepers. On the main floor, the debate continued. Some council members suggested sending a diplomatic mission to Sol System to negotiate humanity's return. Others insisted on maintaining the council's dignity by demanding humans return to their proper place. We should remind humanity of their obligations to galactic stability, argued the Danubian representative. And what leverage would we use? Asked Councillor Ella Martinez, who represented a coalition of smaller worlds. Though human by ancestry, Martinez had been born on a colony world that remained in council space. Humans have proven they can survive without us. Can we say the same? The debate grew heated. 5 years of economic decline and increasing military tensions had strained the council's unity. Some blamed the council leadership for driving humans away. Others blamed humans for abandoning their responsibilities. Outside the council tower, a crowd gathered in what had become a weekly event, a pro-human rally. Citizens from dozens of species held signs in human languages. Some waved Earth flags. Council security monitored them closely but did not interfere. These demonstrations had grown too large to suppress without causing more unrest. Back in the council chamber, High Chancellor Zex Torvalak called for order. We must reach a decision. The proposal before us is to send an official delegation to Sol system to open negotiations with Earth. The vote was closer than anyone would have predicted 5 years earlier. Pride still ran deep among many council species, but economic necessity won in the end. The proposal passes, Zex Torvalak announced. We will send representatives to Sol system within 30 days. After the session ended, Admiral Dawson met with her staff to discuss the security implications. We need to send our best ships with the delegation, she insisted. The Krelthorians will be watching closely. Any sign of weakness could trigger their expansion plans. What about the reports from our long-range observation posts? Russell asked. Should we brief the delegation about what we've detected from Sol? Dawson hesitated. Those reports are still classified. Some council members might panic if they knew what humans have been building. Later that day, in a secure room deep within the council tower, Dawson shared these classified reports with the delegation members who would travel to Sol. Captain Catherine Miller, the highest-ranked human still serving in the council fleet, would lead the mission. Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity throughout the Sol system, Dawson explained, showing images on a secure screen. Massive construction projects around Earth, Mars, and the gas giants. Energy signatures unlike anything we've recorded before. The delegation members studied the images with concern. What are they building? Asked a Proxian diplomat. We don't know exactly, Dawson admitted. But whatever it is, the scale is impressive, especially considering they've only had 5 years. Captain Miller spoke up. Humans have always built things when isolated. It's in our nature to create and expand. Without council technology restrictions holding them back, who knows what they've developed, added another delegation member. The meeting continued late into the night as they prepared for the journey to Sol. The mission carried the hopes of a council beginning to understand just how much they had depended on the species they had treated as junior partners. Meanwhile, in districts across Nexus Station, ordinary citizens felt the effects of humanity's absence. Shops closed due to lack of goods. Entertainment venues struggled without human creativity, driving new forms of art and music. Schools taught outdated technology because innovation had slowed to a crawl. In one such district, a young Voldurian named Kexlia, daughter of High Chancellor Zex Torvalak, walked through a market that had once buzzed with activity. Now half the stalls stood empty. She stopped at a small shop that still sold human items, mostly old goods from before the withdrawal. Do you have any new human books? She asked the shopkeeper, a 4-armed Quatsian. Sorry, young one. Nothing new has come from Earth in 5 years, the shopkeeper replied sadly. I have some used ones customers traded in. Kexalia browsed the small selection. She had learned to read human languages. Fascinated by their stories and ideas, she selected a worn copy of a book called The Art of Innovation by a human named Steve Johnson. As she paid for the book, the shopkeeper asked, Why do you like human things so much? Your father leads the council that they abandoned. Kexalia's eye stalks dipped in what her species used to show thoughtfulness. I don't think they abandoned us. I think they needed space to grow. My father and the other leaders were afraid of what humans might become, so they tried to control them. And now we're afraid of a galaxy without them, she replied simply. As Kexalia left the shop, she looked up at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, humans were building their future. She wondered if they would share it with the rest of the galaxy, or if the Council's fear and pride had pushed them away forever. The delegation ship departed for Sol System 3 days later. It carried official messages from the Council leadership and unofficial hopes from citizens across the galaxy. No one knew if humans would welcome them or turn them away. But everyone understood one thing clearly. The balance of power had shifted. Humans were no longer petitioning to join the galactic community. Now the galaxy was petitioning them. The Council delegation ship approached the edge of the Sol system after 3 weeks of travel. Captain Catherine Miller stood on the bridge, watching as the outer boundary marker came into view. 7 years had passed since humanity had established this border at the Kuiper Belt, warning that any unauthorized crossing would be considered hostile. Slow to quarter speed, Miller ordered, Begin broadcasting our identification and peaceful intent on all frequencies. Communications Officer Ben Howard nodded. Broadcasting now, Captain. No response yet. Miller tried to appear calm, but inside, she felt nervous. None of the scouting missions sent by the Council over the years had returned. They weren't necessarily destroyed. They simply disappeared from sensors after crossing the boundary. All systems on standby, reported the first officer. We're ready to withdraw immediately if needed. Miller nodded. The Council had debated for months about this mission. Some wanted to send a full military escort. Others argued that would appear threatening. In the end, they settled on one diplomatic vessel with minimal defensive capabilities. Captain, Howard suddenly straightened in his chair. We're receiving a response. Text only. Miller moved to his station and read the message on the screen. One visitor, unarmed, coordinates attached. The delegation members gathered to discuss this development. 20 representatives from different council species had made the journey. Only one visitor? Objected the Voldurian representative. That's insulting. We represent the entire Galactic Council. We're in no position to make demands, reminded Ella Martinez, the human ancestry counselor from the Coalition of Smaller Worlds. We need this meeting more than they do. Who should go? Asked another delegate. The debate was brief. Captain Miller was the obvious choice, a human who had remained with the Council but still understood Earth culture. I'll take a small shuttle, Miller decided. The rest of you should wait here for my report. 2 hours later, Miller's shuttle crossed the boundary. She half expected to find patrol ships or defense platforms, but visually there was nothing. Her sensors, however, indicated massive energy fields surrounding her, scanning and analyzing her vessel. Following the provided coordinates, she approached what appeared to be a small research outpost on a distant Kuiper Belt object. As she landed, a single figure in an environmental suit waited in the small docking bay. When the atmosphere normalized, the figure removed their helmet. Miller was surprised to see Daniel Reeves, once a junior diplomat she had worked with in the Council years ago. He had been part of the Earth delegation that left. Catherine, he greeted her with a genuine smile. You're the last person I expected the Council to send. I'm the only human they trust, she replied honestly. Reeves nodded. Follow me. There's something you need to see before we discuss why you've come. He led her through the small outpost to what appeared to be a simple observation room. With a gesture at a control panel, the wall became transparent, revealing not the barren landscape of the Kuiper object, but a vast chamber extending kilometers in every direction. Inside, objects moved with purpose. Construction platforms, research vessels, and structures Catherine couldn't identify. This is just one of hundreds, Daniel explained. We've been busy. Catherine struggled to find words. What is all this? A small part of what humanity has been building since we left Council space. Daniel's voice held pride. Without technology, restrictions, we've advanced more in 7 years than in the previous 50. The Council fears what they cannot understand, Catherine said carefully. They sent me to negotiate your return. Daniel's expression turned serious. We're not the same humans who left, Catherine. We've changed, evolved. The question isn't whether we'll return to the Council. It's whether the Council is ready for what humanity has become. He led her to a small conference room where refreshments waited. As they sat, Catherine noticed subtle differences in Daniel. His movement seemed more fluid, his eyes more alert and aware. I should tell you why the Council sent me, Catherine began. The galactic economy is struggling without human trade and innovation. Border conflicts have increased without human peacekeeping forces. The Krell-Thorians are testing boundaries that would have been secure before. Daniel nodded. We've been monitoring the situation. We knew there would be adjustments after our departure. Adjustments? Catherine raised an eyebrow. Entire systems are facing economic collapse. The Council structure itself is under strain. Perhaps that's not entirely bad, Daniel suggested. The Council system was designed to maintain the status quo to prevent rapid change. But change is necessary for growth. Catherine leaned forward. What exactly have you been building out here? Our long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures, but nothing specific. Daniel smiled. It would take weeks to show you everything, but I can give you the highlights. He activated a holographic display in the center of the table. We've developed energy production methods that don't rely on traditional fuel sources. We've created medical technologies that can cure diseases the Council deemed untreatable. We've designed ships that can travel faster and farther than anything in Council space. The images showed marvels that made Catherine's eyes widen. Space habitats housing millions in comfort, planetary transformation systems, vessels that seemed impossibly advanced. All this in just 7 years? She whispered. Without restrictions, human creativity and innovation accelerate exponentially, Daniel explained. We didn't need to file requests in triplicate or wait for approval from 17 different committees. The Council fears this level of advancement, Catherine admitted. It's why the technology treaties existed in the first place. We know. Daniel's voice held no bitterness, just simple acknowledgement. Fear of the unknown is natural. Fear of change, of losing control. These are normal reactions. But they shouldn't determine the future of galaxy-wide civilization. Catherine studied him. So what does humanity want now? The Council is prepared to offer significant concessions to bring you back. Daniel laughed softly. We don't want concessions, Catherine. We want partnership. Real partnership based on respect, not control and submission. What does that mean practically? It means the technology treaties must be replaced with a framework that encourages innovation rather than stifling it. The protective classifications that kept developing worlds isolated must end. Daniel's eyes were intense. And humanity requires recognition of autonomous human space. We will share our discoveries, but our core systems remain under our jurisdiction. Alone. Catherine considered these terms. They would fundamentally change the power structure of the Council. Some members would resist fiercely. I need to report back to the delegation, she said finally. Daniel nodded. Of course. But there's one more thing you should see before you go. He led her to another section of the facility, where a medical bay held equipment unlike anything Catherine had seen before. 7 years ago, Admiral Susan Martinez was diagnosed with neural degradation, Daniel explained. Council doctors gave her 2 years to live at most. Our research teams developed this. He pointed to a device above one of the beds. A neural regenerator, Catherine guessed. More than that, it can repair damaged tissue, restore function, even enhance natural capabilities. Daniel looked at her directly. We can share this, Catherine. We want to share all of our advances, but not as subjects of the Council, as equals. As Catherine prepared to return to her shuttle, she felt overwhelmed by all she had seen. Tell the Council we're willing to talk, Daniel said as they reached the docking bay, but remind them, we're not returning to the old system. That chapter is closed. Catherine nodded. I'll deliver your message. As her shuttle departed, she looked back at the small outpost, now understanding it was merely the entrance to something vastly larger and more complex. Humanity had not been hiding during these 7 years. They had been transforming themselves and their future, and now the galaxy would need to transform as well. 10 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The Council chamber was filled to capacity for the most important session in decades. Representatives from every member species crowded the tiered seating, creating a sea of different colors and forms. Even spaces normally reserved for observers were packed with diplomats and officials. At the speaker's podium stood Daniel Reeves, now officially titled Human Liaison. Behind him stood Catherine Miller, who had resigned her council commission, to serve as his assistant. High Chancellor Zex Torvalak, older now with faded coloring on his eye stalks, called the session to order. Today we welcome representatives from Earth to address the full council. They come not as petitioners but as— He hesitated slightly, as potential partners. The admission cost the Chancellor visibly. For 10 years, the Council had maintained the fiction that humanity would eventually return to its former position. Now they faced a different reality. Daniel stepped forward. His calm confidence filled the chamber. Though he looked much the same as he had years ago, those who knew humans well could detect subtle differences in his bearing and movements. For a decade, humanity has worked in isolation, Daniel began. We have redefined our understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness itself. We have solved energy production challenges the Council deemed impossible. We have cured diseases your medical committees called terminal. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some showed excitement, others fear. We did not come here to boast, Daniel continued. We came to offer a choice. He activated a holographic display, showing images that caused many counselors to gasp or make their species equivalent expressions of shock. Planets with restored ecosystems, space habitats housing billions in comfort, starships that could cross the galaxy in weeks rather than years. Humanity is returning to galactic society, but not as supplicants or junior partners. We return as equals, offering gifts of knowledge and technology. High Chancellor Zex Torvalak leaned forward. And what do humans want in return? Daniel smiled. Recognition, not just for ourselves, but for any species with potential. The technology treaties must be replaced with a framework that encourages innovation rather than stifling it. The protective classifications that kept developing worlds isolated must end. Catherine stepped forward. We also require acknowledgement of autonomous human space. We will share our discoveries, but our core systems remain under our jurisdiction, alone. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives welcomed humanity's terms enthusiastically. Others warned of chaos if the careful balance of power was disrupted. Near the back of the chamber, Edward Wells, the human communications director who had joined Daniel's team, approached quietly. It's happening exactly as you predicted, he whispered. The progressive factions are gaining support while the traditionalists lose ground. Daniel nodded slightly. Humans never needed to conquer the galaxy, Edward. We just needed to show them a better way forward. On the main floor, representatives argued passionately. The Proxian delegate raised concerns about rapid technological change. The Arcturian representative countered with statistics about economic decline in the Council's absence. From her seat, Lisa Knight watched with satisfaction. After 10 years as the lone human in Council space, she had finally been joined by her people. Her unofficial work as a bridge between worlds had helped prepare for this day. High Chancellor Zex Torvalak struggled to maintain order as the debate grew heated. This was the moment he had feared for decades, the moment when the Council's authority might crumble in the face of change. To everyone's surprise, a young Voldurian rose from the junior delegates section. Kexlia, daughter of the High Chancellor himself, requested permission to speak. The chair recognizes junior delegate Kexlia, Zex Torvalak said, his tone revealing his shock at his daughter's intervention. Kexlia moved to the central floor. Though young by Voldurian standards, she carried herself with confidence. For 10 years I have studied human culture and history, she began. While our council feared human advancement, I found inspiration in it. Humans don't seek dominance. They seek growth. They don't demand control. They offer cooperation. She turned to address the entire chamber. The old council system was built on fear. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of losing control. It worked for centuries because most species accepted those limitations. Humans showed us there is another way. Murmurs of agreement came from many younger delegates. Even some elder representatives nodded thoughtfully. I propose we accept humanity's offer, Kexalia concluded. Not because we fear what will happen if we refuse, but because we hope for what might happen if we agree. Her father stared at her with a mixture of surprise and something that might have been pride. I call for an immediate vote on humanity's proposal, Kexalia said firmly. Protocol demanded time for consideration, but the mood of the council had shifted. When Zex Torvalak called for objections to an immediate vote, none came. The voting process, took nearly an hour as representatives consulted with their governments. Catherine stood beside Daniel, watching the results appear on their private display. "It's going to be close," she whispered. Daniel nodded. Change always is. When the final tally appeared, silence fell over the chamber. The motion had passed, by the narrowest margin in council history, just 3 votes. High Chancellor Zex Torvalak rose slowly to his feet. "The council has voted to accept humanity's terms. We welcome Earth as an autonomous partner in a new galactic framework." He looked directly at Daniel. "I hope we do not come to regret this decision." Daniel stepped forward. "Change brings uncertainty, Chancellor, but it also brings opportunity. Humanity doesn't seek to dominate, we seek to elevate." He gestured to his team, who began distributing data devices to council representatives. These contain the first phase of technologies we're sharing: clean energy systems, medical advancements, and agricultural improvements. Freely given, with no restrictions. The impact was immediate. Representatives eagerly activated the devices, expressions of wonder spreading across alien faces as they reviewed the contents. After the formal session ended, Daniel and Catherine found themselves surrounded by council members eager to discuss specific aspects of human advancements. Most seemed genuinely excited rather than fearful. Lisa Knight joined them, smiling. 10 years ago, they couldn't wait to be rid of us. Now they can't wait to work with us." "Fear is powerful," Daniel replied, "but hope is stronger." Across the chamber, Kexlia approached her father. The High Chancellor looked down at his daughter. "You spoke well today," he admitted reluctantly, "though it was not the outcome I hoped for." "The galaxy is changing, Father," Kexlia replied. "We can fear that change or embrace it." Zex Torvalak's eye stalks drooped slightly. "I have spent my career maintaining stability. Perhaps—" He paused, looking across the chamber at the excited groups forming around the human delegates. "Perhaps stability is not always progress." As the day ended, Daniel stood at a viewport overlooking the sprawling Nexus station. Hundreds of ships moved through the docking areas, and millions of beings from countless species went about their lives. Catherine joined him. "Phase 1 is complete," she said quietly. "Humanity has returned to the galactic stage." Daniel nodded. "Not as subjects, but as partners." "Do you think they'll adapt to the changes we're bringing?" she asked. "They'll have to," Daniel replied. "The universe doesn't reward stagnation, it rewards growth and adaptation." He turned from the viewport to look at the dispersing council members, some still clutching the data devices as if they were precious treasures. When humans walked away, fear took hold of the Galactic Council, Daniel said. But fear wasn't the end of the story. "What was?" Catherine asked. Daniel smiled. "Hope. The thing humans have always done best is imagine a better future. Now we get to build that future together." Outside the council tower, citizens from dozens of species celebrated the news. The barriers that had separated humanity from the galactic community for a decade were finally falling. And in that moment, the future of the galaxy changed forever, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple human determination to walk away when necessary and return only on their own terms. The lesson was clear to all who witnessed it. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in holding on to power, but in having the courage to let go and build something new.